Hey, you guys. In my most recent video about 80s and 90s movies with alternate endings, I left out two iconic movies, which I was called out for in the comments, but I had very good reasons for this massive omission. The biggest reason that I left them out is that I wanted to make a special bonus video that focused on these two films, because they're two of my absolute favorites of all time from John Hughes, and I didn't want them tacked on to the end of an hour-long video. They deserve special treatment. So here we go. My name is Natalie, this is my so-called Gen X life, and here are two beloved John Hughes movies from my 1980s childhood that originally had totally different endings. This video is brought to you by me. I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you about my weekly live streams on Tuesday and Friday nights, where we chat about all things Gen X. We watch old videos, laugh at nostalgic social media posts, and reminisce about all the things we loved in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If that sounds like a good time, all you gotta do is subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you know when I go live. And now, back to the video. Pink was released in theaters in February 1986, and it was one of those Hughes creations that defined 80s teen pop culture. It's a Gen X classic, but the ending that Hughes wrote in the original script wasn't the ending that we all know and remember. Pretty in Pink is all about love and social cliques in high school, and the story focuses on senior Andy Walsh, played by Molly Ringwald, who lives in a Chicago suburb with her underemployed working-class dad. She's got a best friend named Ducky, played by John Cryer, who's an outsider with his own unique style, and he also happens to be madly in love with Andy, but he keeps his feelings a secret because essentially he's afraid to tell her. Andy has the best job a teenager in the 80s could ask for. She works at a record store called Trax with her quirky manager, played by Annie Potts. But at school, things aren't so great. Andy and her friends are harassed and bullied by the rich, popular kids, giving us the conflict between the haves and the have-nots on the high school level. The guy that gives Andy the hardest time is Steph, played by James Spader, who's especially mean because he has a secret thing for Andy, but she turned him down. And then there's Blaine, played by Andrew McCarthy. He's a preppy boy who's also Steph's best friend, and he falls for Andy too. When he asks her out though, she accepts. It's a whole teenage romance, drama, and comedy about rich kids and poor kids that's perfect for its time. With the exception of that prom dress that she makes. Oh, that was awful, but I give her an A for effort. At least she can sew. Anyways, jumping to the end of the movie, we're at the prom. Andy is hesitant to go inside until she sees Ducky. They walk into the dance hand in hand. This iconic ending sees Andy choose Blaine over Ducky, despite Ducky being in love with her and showing it the entire movie. The reality was that she didn't feel the same way about him. She chose Blaine, the guy that she wanted, despite the way his friends treated her throughout the movie because of her social status. And she keeps Ducky in the friend zone. Ducky gives Andy and Blaine's relationship his blessing, and then he gets a smile from a young Christy Swanson and spends the prom with her. But that's not the ending that Hughes originally wrote. In the original ending, Andy and Ducky end up together after showing up to the prom together. Blaine never apologizes, and she chooses her friend over the hot, rich guy. It's the classic nerd trope that Hughes loved to feature in his movies. But when this ending was screened for test audiences, it was a disaster. The audience actually booed when Andy chose Ducky over Blaine.
We tested it. They loved the movie, and then at the very last moment when Molly wound up with Ducky, they booed. We realized then and there that the right thing to do was to wind up with the guy who truly loves you. But the girls in the audience didn't care about that. They wanted to get the cute guy. And so it was a big lesson for us, which is forget the politics. When a girl wants the cute guy, she's got to get the cute guy.
This visceral audience reaction was a huge problem for Hughes and Deutsch. Filming had wrapped. They had shot the ending that they wanted. Andrew McCarthy had moved on to a Broadway play and had shaved his head, and Hughes didn't know how to write his way out of this ending that he loved, but the audience hated.
It was very, very tough. John rightfully took his time and figured out a way to give them what they wanted, but at the same time to keep the integrity of the story. But he had so many things going on, and I was sitting there in his house every night going, could we work on this? But he was like, well, how am I supposed to do this so that the whole thing's geared toward true love? And then one day we were sitting in the editing room, and he went, I got it. It was just like that, the light bulb went off. He says, what if Andrew comes to the prom alone? And he backtracked from there, and he had it in no time at all, and that was it.
In the final cut, we get the ending we all remember. Blaine apologizes to Andy, and they end the movie with a kiss and leave the prom together. You might notice, though, that this new ending was shot months later. Due to McCarthy's new haircut, he had to wear a wig to get back that Blaine look. The first ending was never released on any kind of special edition DVD or Blu-ray, so finding clips of it is nearly impossible. But I was able to find this from a Pretty in Pink documentary made 20 years ago.
What's up, guys? Think I finally found a good tune. Well, shall we?
Before Hughes died in 2009, he revealed that he wasn't a fan of the new ending because his plan was for Ducky and Andy to end up together. That's what he wanted. However, he was able to get his Friends to Lovers vision on the big screen a couple of years later when he released Some Kind of Wonderful. But no, that movie didn't use the Pretty in Pink ending that Hughes wanted. He actually wrote the Some Kind of Wonderful script first. It just had the same Friends to Lovers vibe. It kind of makes you think Hughes was in love with his best friend at some point in his teenage years. Oh, and one more thing. Apparently, the role of Ducky was originally supposed to go to Robert Downey Jr., and Ringwald was okay with the ending of Andy ending up with Ducky with RDJ in the role because she herself was attracted to him. But once the role went to Cryer, she soured on the ending. From her perspective, Andy needed to choose the guy she loved, not the friend that had a thing for her.
I was supposed to end up with Ducky. And when Robert Downey Jr. was being considered for it, I thought he was adorable. I thought I thought he was cute. I was attracted to him. It sort of made sense. I could end up with him at the end. I mean, once they cast John and we started working together, I thought there's no way that this ending is going to work. With John, not to say that John isn't cute, not to say that he isn't adorable, because he clearly is. I just didn't have that chemistry with him myself. That's not the relationship that we had. So it didn't really make sense when we went to shoot the ending of us ending up together. It just seemed completely bizarre. It seemed like I was ending up with my brother. And I think I told Howie that, and Howie still wanted to shoot the ending, as written. So I think they really did want me to end up with the sort of underdog, goofy character.
National Lampoon's Vacation from 1983 is the ultimate road trip comedy. Written by John Hughes and based on his short story Vacation 58 that appeared in the National Lampoon magazine. And we all know it chronicles the cross-country journey of the Griswold family. Clark Griswold, played by Chevy Chase, wants to give his family the ultimate vacation at Wally World Amusement Park. So he plans out a voyage from Chicago to California for himself, his wife Ellen, played by Beverly D'Angelo, his son Rusty, played by Anthony Michael Hall, and his daughter Audrey, played by Dana Barron. They set out in their brand new faux wood paneled Wagon Queen family truckster for the 2,460-mile journey, but there's all sorts of roadblocks along the way before they reach their final destination. We get a dead dog, a dead ant, there's even an actual roadblock in the desert. After going through all of this, they finally arrive at Wally World, only to find that it's closed for repairs. The movie ends with Clark absolutely losing it, buying a BB gun and then forcing a security guard, played by the lovable John Candy, at gunpoint to let them into the park so they can ride all the rides, including the whippersnapper and the screamy Mimi. The SWAT team eventually shows up and arrests them, but Clark pleads his case to park owner Roy Wally, played by Eddie Bracken, who decides not to press charges. The final images are of the family, Mr. Wally, the security guard, and the SWAT team enjoying a group ride on the roller coaster. But that's not the ending that Hughes originally wrote. After Clark discovers that the park is closed, the original finale shows him and his family buying a map of the stars so they can find Roy Wally's house. Then they confront him, again at gunpoint, and demand that he entertain them after all of their troubles.
Chevy freaks out. He buys a pellet gun. He gets his movie star map and drives to Roy Wally's house.
We showed up at his mansion, and he's there having lunch with some executives of his.
Chevy kind of hijacks the meeting. Damn, I want my dime's worth of entertainment.
And at gunpoint, we make him entertain us.
He danced for us. He did a little show for it.
The forced poolside dancing at Roy Wally's house was not the only scene that was cut from the film. The film's actual ending screened for test audiences also showed the Griswolds on a plane after a trip to the park that is never seen, just alluded to. The only evidence of this original ending that still exists in the film is the very last image of the movie, a still photo of the Griswold family on the plane with their Marty Moose Wally World ski hats. The plane was necessary because the family truckster crashed into the koi pond, but it was supposed to take the family back hassle-free to Chicago, but there was one last twist in store. Barron says, basically, Roy Wally doesn't arrest us, and he understands because he has a family too, and we end up going back on the plane. We weren't originally going to fly back, but by then, I don't think the truckster was working very well. So we get on the plane with these hats because we never see the family in Wally World. So the hats in the plane show that we were there. And they announce on the plane, we're not going back to Chicago. I don't know where they said the plane was going, but it was the wrong direction. Of course, Clark freaks out and goes bananas that we're going the wrong direction again. So that was sort of the downer ending, and you freeze frame on us at the end with the chaos and the mayhem of us being on the wrong plane. Now, when the film with this ending was shown to test audiences, director Harold Ramis immediately noticed a huge problem.
And it occurred to me that they'd now invested about 70 minutes, 75 minutes on the way to Wally World, and they really expected to get to Wally World, and here we were denying them, the payoff to the whole trip.
Ramis knew he needed a new ending, so once again, Hughes was tasked with a rewrite. Actually, this one came before Pretty in Pink, but you get what I'm saying. Anyways, Hughes quickly wrote the new final scene, which, thank God, included the role of John Candy's security guard. I cannot tell you how often, to this day, that I use the phrase, "Sorry folks, park's closed. Moose out front should have told ya." You'd be surprised how well that fits into a variety of situations. The new scenes were shot months after the film wrapped, and it's very easy to notice which scenes are part of the reshoot. That's because Anthony Michael Hall had a massive growth spurt in those few months, and he's about a foot taller with darker hair when they finally make it inside Wally World. Now, the big question is, what happened to that original ending? Since those test screenings, no one has seen it. It hasn't been released in a special edition DVD or leaked on YouTube. It's totally lost media. Well, it turns out that there's one person who has not only seen the original cut of the film, but has a copy of it on VHS. That person is Chevy Chase.
I forgot about that. The other ending. I have it on tape. I have the,
I've never seen it.
The original picture with the old ending.
That pool behind that Beverly Hills house, whatever. I remember that, yeah.
As far as I can tell, there are no plans to release the original on a special DVD or Blu-ray anytime soon. Maybe Chevy will get it to the world at some point, but I seriously doubt it. So what do you think about this original ending and the changes that were made? Would this movie have been a massive flop if they kept that original ending? Let me know in the comments below. And please, like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can know when my next video drops. And remember, I also do live streams on Tuesdays and Fridays, so please stop by and say hi. That's all I've got for now. Okay, bye!